Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Any items from the public? Got a public out there?
I got a question for you.
Yes.
And have we ever discussed changing from being a council back to a commission?
There has been discussions. I'm not sure of the process, but
Well, I believe it was changed in legislature last year or the year before that allows.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I believe it was
allows
changed.
us to go back to be a commission.
Yeah.
I'd like to find that out. That guy out there would probably let us know.
Is there a thought process if that was
Well, I
the
would
case?
be
I did.
one in favor of it.
He would be number one, even though he didn't bring it up.
Yeah.
Well,
That'd be
I
I
number
guess
two.
that makes me number two.
I was
I'll be
first. I was
three.
first. I've been here all week.
Here we go.
Oh,
Well, you
here-
have
here we
definitely-
go.
You have definitely been consuming vegetation
Yeah.
much longer than I have.
Well, we'll ask Anthony to kind of research that for us then. If we can become a commission, we'll become a commission again.
What is the from the
Legislation standpoint?
no, from the difficulties of changing things? What all would be involved to do that? Is there a lot involved to be able to change back? I
Not
mean,
any more than it was when we went from commission to
Council.
council. We
Yeah,
had
but
to
I mean-
change letterhead and business
Yeah.
cards and things like that, but not terribly difficult.
what's your thought about it?
You know, I've worked for the commission and I've worked for the council, and most people still refer to this body as the commission. And they can't understand why there's a 5-member commission in Jefferson, but a 5-member council in Berkeley. So it is confusing to the public.
And then they confuse the city council with us
yeah.
also.
Oh yeah, all the time, all the time. That's the biggest confusion I get is people say, "Oh, you work for the council. What's going on in the city?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's not the city
Not the
council."
city, yeah. Okay, well,
Okay.
we got
Well, there you go. Now you got
Anthony
something
going to
do.
work on it.
That's right.
Yep. Okay, do I have a motion for approval of the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda for August 25th, 2022.
Second, and all those in favor say aye.
Right.
Like sign opposed, motion carries. Consent agenda, purchase order log. Any questions for Tracy? She's back. Hey, Trace.
Mr. Vice President, if I may, just call your attention to one thing, and good news. If you look at page 5, the distribution of the hotel motel tax for the month of July to Parks and Recreation and the CBB, we collected $110,172.23 hotel motel just during the month of July, which we think is probably the biggest that we've had that we could find. So revenge travel is alive and well.
Good.
We had a good conversation yesterday at the CVB meeting about those increases and well, I'll talk more about it when we get to that point.
Okay.
I wonder how much the city of Martinsburg contributed.
Theirs to the CVB was about 200,000 last year,
Last year.
or maybe it's this year's, because I think ours is, what was ours, 300?
Each.
300, and I think the city's was 200 is what was budgeted. So I don't know what it actually will turn out to be.
Okay. No internal budgets revisions this week. Okay. Change in status. They had a new hire recommendation from the Honorable Elaine Mogg for County Clerk for Kathy Gokenauer as part-time deputy clerk with the hourly rate of $17.82 effective September the 1st.
Is that any relation?
It is, and you know what? We'll pull that out.
You want a motion on that?
We'll motion on that. Pull that one out for now.
I will make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Well, I think I'll second that since I was everybody can second it.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Like sign opposed? You want to abstain?
Yes, so let the record show that I abstained from the vote. It's my sister.
Alrighty, change in status received From Mike Lang, Chief Court Marshal for Stephen Boback. He is receiving a step increase for years in service. His salary is going from $40,678 to $43,118. That's effective September the 1st. For County Clerk, removal of Samia Dixon, say that right? Samaya Dixon from payroll effective August 17th, 2022.
She was a part-time clerk, so
That's
Kathy Gokenair is actually backfilling
filling that.
that
Okay.
vacancy.
All right. The approval of the minutes. Councilperson President and Councilperson Gokenair were not present, but attended part of the meeting via Zoom. So we'll pull them out, and I guess we can all.
If you're gonna pull them out, I'll move to approve the minutes of August 11th, 2022. That's the minute.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I guess I'll have to second that since I'm the only one. that
That's right.
can.
All righty. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Like sign opposed.
Abstain due to absence.
Okay. Council calendars. Let me get here. How do I go through all that? Let's see. We are here today for August the 25th. Calendar for September. Labor Day's the 5th. That's a little bit further ahead, but it'll be not in.
Something to look forward to, though.
Something to look forward to, yeah. August the 22nd, we have tonight and 25th at the Ambulance Authority and the Library Board meet at 5 o'clock. The 29th at 12 p.m. Region 9, 5 p.m. Water District. And then nothing the 30th through the rest of the week.
The Region 9 meeting will be in beautiful sunny downtown Charlestown.
Greater, okay. And Board and Commission calendars for September, we'll do that.
If the council will allow, I've given you the agendas for the next 2 weeks. We're filling agendas clear up until October right now, so calendars, your agendas are filling quickly. You'll see the agenda for September 1st is filled. Just to remind you that there is 2 public hearings next Thursday. The first one's at 11:15, and then the second will be at 6 o'clock. And we've invited, any interested members of the public to come in and hear about the proposed ambulance authority commercial fees. And we have ongoing discussion tentatively scheduled for next week on the health department. An update from Crabtree and Rohrball on expansion of the Day Report Center, as well as review of the Dunn Building bid. We've had some recent developments with the West Virginia Fire Commission and Berkeley Fire, so I've asked Marty and Randy to come in and update you on that. And then we have the follow-up discussion on the supplemental funding, and I actually have that on the agenda for the next 2 weeks, because at your request, we have Nick Deal coming in next week, and then the following week,
Trip.
Trip Tomlin.
Tobin.
Will be in, so I don't think we've missed anything, but if there's anything that you wanted on the agendas that we forgot to put on, let us know.
The 15th, I will not be here.
Okay.
Alrighty, let's see, Board and Commission calendars. It's bond reduction, Associated Asphalt, BCP file 2206-169, tied to BCP 2007-0417, grading, and BCP number 20-01, and bond number CIC 197879. Bond reduction for Lineberg Properties, BCP file 2011-341, tied to BCP file 2104-087, grading, and BCP file 2207-206, letter of credit number 5186622-44, Engineering Department. And bond reduction for Goldfinch Meadows Phase 1 grading, RO2146-16 tied to BCP file number 2111-420 and number 41-04, letter of credit number 730001813-73003 Engineering Department. And then a bond reduction for Goldfish Meadows Phase 2 grading, R00716-17, tied to BCP file 2111-420 and 41-04, letter of credit number 871, Engineering Department. Let's see, order to open Fund 027 with United Bank for Day Report Center, Medicaid payments for Licensed Behavioral Health Center, and motion to approve the consent agenda. Nobody has any questions for Doug or anything? Is that we're good to go there?
The order to open the bank account, we start Medicaid billing September 1st.
Or,
Yes,
It's up there behind the fireworks place there on
yeah,
Dillinger.
yeah.
It's Ollie's is on the front of the building.
That's it.
That's it, yeah.
Yes, sir. I couldn't recall.
Yeah,
that.
that's it. That's a small little spot, cute building.
What's that, the one right along 11?
No, 51, up there near the, across the road from the current Food Lion.
Oh, yeah.
Right there, just kind of a little bit to the west of Taco Bell.
Yeah, isn't that the one that he used to have a car lot there?
Yeah, they took the, no, not there, they took the car lot out for the roundabout. And so he moved on a little bit further west on 51. So right there beside the Hampton Inn,
Okay.
across right there on the other side of Dillon. I'm sorry, Alan, again on the, what did I see here? Oh, the medical payments for the licensure?
The
Yeah.
order to open the bank account, we finally got the final approval for licensed behavioral health services, which will begin September 1st. So we will start Medicaid billing, and all the payments that we will receive will be done through ACH. Rather than have the ACH payments going into a general fund account and then us having to take that and move it into a special revenue account, we want to set up the special revenue account so we can keep, separate revenue stream, keep it an accounting for that easier in case there's an audit. So that's why we set up that separate account.
Sounds good.
Good idea.
All righty.
That's what we were waiting on, right?
It's been many
Right, and we have those employees already on staff. don't we?
therapists are on staff, the billing specialists are on staff. We had some software that we had to purchase and train on. All the training's been done. So September 1st, we will start billing Medicaid.
Sounds good.
Who will basically do the audit of that? I know a lot of times Medicaid really drills down on their charges.
They will have someone from either the state or the federal government come in, at least initially, to make sure that all the programs are functioning right. They'll look at our record keeping, and then I think it's a semi-annual or an annual inspection.
Okay.
I'm sure everything would be in line. I just want to kind of
But this is
It is.
it is.
new to us, so, and we're not gonna do full board billing of Medicaid come September 1st. We're gonna do it in kind of bits and pieces.
But the ambulance authority's used to it, so it's
They-
nothing like it's not been done here
And
before.
Tim has been in touch with them to see, what's worked, what hasn't worked, and apparently anybody that bills Medicaid has to use the same software, so.
All righty. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second? All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Like sign opposed, motion carries. And we have a correction of assessment logs, 16 personal property exonerations, and we have the Honorable Larry Hess here to guide us through.
Good morning.
Good morning.
no divorces today. What's going on?
We went through
Everybody's
it.
getting along?
It was just one
A flurry
quick
of activity.
came in. It's, I do have 2 pages of personal property exonerations. There's 16 of them total. And as the reasons that's listed there. But if you total them all up, both pages comes up to $2,888.57 for those 16 postal property exonerations.
Okay.
Mr. President, I move to accept the 16 office error exonerations in the amount of $2,888.57.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
I will second that motion.
I got a second. All those in favor say aye. Like sign opposed. Motion carries. 3 real estate tax exonerations.
Yes, sir. For, we had to, this gentleman, Donald Bowers, purchased property and, for 3 years it had the wrong tax class on it. And it was our fault that we didn't catch it, but anyway, we had to correct the wrong tax class for him. 3 years of that come up to $3,372.15.
Okay. Do I have a motion for the 3 real estate tax exonerations due to office error?
A motion to accept in the amount of $3,372.15.
Have a motion. Do I have a second? All those in favor say aye. Like sign opposed.
That's all I had.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Board and meeting reports. Mr. Barnhart.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Since it was the last week of the month, I had no meetings.
Okay. Mr. Delier.
I had a CVB meeting yesterday, and it was probably the longest one that I've had since I've been attending those. It was long enough to where it went 35 minutes into my senior services meeting, so I missed that one. But it was some very good conversation of how, with the increased funding, they can start looking at doing things a little bit differently. They do have that board is strong financially, and with the increased revenues coming in, there was talks of how could structure moving forward, giving when you give an additional startup grant, maybe we can help that along for more than just the initial, those type of things, and looking at how that structure would work. Also talked about some of the other boards maybe getting more involved, working hand in hand with Main Street, Martinsburg, that kind of stuff. So
How many staff?
2 to 3.
It's always been that. I
Yeah.
guess. Change.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's good that they're starting to interact with other boards,
Yeah.
because that would really enhance their mission and the other board's mission too, is cooperation.
Well, if you look at the Garner report that was done several years ago by the city, the Garner report actually suggests that the Roundhouse, Main Street, and the CVB all work hand in hand, and maybe, if I remember right, they might even have suggested that they all be in the same office, working together. And I could be wrong about that, but I think that was the case with that report, and it makes sense if you look at
Well,
what
yeah,
each of
especially to the Roundhouse.
Yeah.
Because their office equivalence is pretty small, and they could really, that would really enhance their mission.
Well, the Roundhouse has no staff.
Yeah.
So to have the CVB working hand in hand to be able to give tours, and they are doing some tours right now, and their tours are picking up with Roundhouse, but the conversation was also asked, how's the grant going with the Roundhouse? Because they want to be able to help some startups and get some things going over there too. So it's a good thing. It's good.
Is that it?
That's it.
Yes, sir. Had a landmarks commission meeting on Monday, and they're working with the state and also the Giles family. The state wants to do a realignment of the road and create a new bridge to try and get the traffic off of that 90-degree turn basically at the bottom and get it away from the mill. There are some discussions I'd helped set up with the state to meet with the Giles family a couple of weeks ago. And the Giles family offered some suggestions on where they would prefer that bridge to go, more so away from the structure of the mill. And but the historic landmarks, does a lot of investigation on the property itself to see if there's any historical values there. So, other than the mill, you've got the pond, and there's a wagon building there that's very old and historic. So it's trying to.
Yeah, there's a set of springs just south of there. I can't remember the name of it, but there's several springs right on the side of the creek. In fact, one or two at the bottom of the creek. And I don't know if they're historically significant or not. They're good, pretty active springs.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
Well,
I wouldn't worry about it.
God, it was 30 years ago. Musselman plant and the old discharge, it went from pond to pond to pond. Well, all of a sudden we realized all the Musselman waste was going into pond number 1 and nothing was going into pond number 2. It was all leaking out of pond number 1, and that spring turned the color of Eddie's jacket. And it was a very sulfurous compound, and then 200 feet down the stream, it would start to clear up, but it was very pungent, and only happened in the fall. And then after Musselman stopped pumping water, it would stop. And the next, and then it would start up again next fall. And
So the aquifer was opened up out of that pond,
that aquifer went under Lefevre Springs.
under the,
Yeah, because Lefevre Springs is halfway in between.
yeah.
And I had a very controversial fight with, of course, at that time, it was DNR.
Yeah.
Because DEP didn't exist. Forrest Grady was the inspector, I don't know if you remember Forrest or not. And he blamed the pond there by Bunker Quarry, in the quarry.
Oh, the one there off of Pedal Car Drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and of course they abandoned all those, and it hasn't happened since. But that's just historical.
Is that when they pumped everything to the north
Yeah,
and did all that irrigation over there?
yeah, they abandoned the ponds
Yeah.
and went to irrigation.
Okay.
That was known as our first line of defense for the high school ball clubs, was that odor coming through Darksville. The other thing, we're very near on completing the MOU with the Morgan Cabin Group, as well as with the Landmarks Commission. That's should be taking place next month. We'll have that signed. And there have been some new activity on the property at Morgan Cabin. There have been some bones located.
Been reading about that.
Yeah, and working with different agencies and trying to determine if they're human, if they're animal, if it was an existing cemetery, if it's not, so between Landmarks and SHPO and the sheriff's office, the medical examiner, there's
A lot to be determined.
it is, and I've asked our legal attorney to kind of like lay out some guidelines, like this. Look, we have to move methodically, not just jump into this thing, and so there's a lot of moving parts with that, and but we're going to meet very shortly and have a understanding of a plan going forward with that.
Good. Anything else?
Yes.
Okay. I did not have any meetings to report on, so we will move here to reappointment packet received from Jennifer for the LEPC board, and her term expires on 12/12/21. And a new application received from Matt Howard for the Martinsburg Berkeley County Conventions and Visitors Bureau. Do we
Schedule an interview.
schedule
for
an
the
interview there?
CVB.
Okay.
With Jennifer, can we go ahead and make that appointment? I mean, because she's got all of her paperwork in, right?
And
Yep.
she thought she was going to not be eligible to continue on the LEPC. she thought she was gonna be leaving the health department.
Yes,
And
she did, and then she came back.
then she came back, and she's been a very active member of the LEPC, would like to continue.
Yeah, she works with threat preparedness.
Yeah, she's very valued there, so is it appropriate to go ahead and make that appointment?
I would say so.
I'd like to reappoint Jennifer Sheetrum to the LAPC.
Have a motion, do I have a second? All those in favor say aye. Like sign opposed, okay.
If I could also bring to the council's attention, you know, we have a building commission that we use anytime that, particularly when we have bonds or anytime we borrow money only for building renovations and things like that. The RFP, at the direction of the council last Thursday, the RFP for construction loans for the renovations of a number of buildings actually went out onto the street earlier this week. It's in the legal notice is in the Martinsburg Journal today. Knowing that in the very near future, most likely we will need the building commission to when we go to closing on these documents. Right now we have a 4-member building commission. It's Norwood Bentley, Shannon Brown, Steve Roach, and Chet Cole. Mr. Cole has indicated, Tracy, when's his term? Pardon me? September 2nd, his term comes to an end. He has already notified us that he is not interested for reappointment. That leaves us with only 3 members of the building commission. We really need a 4th, so if you have anyone in mind. The caveat is they can't serve on any other board. They can't be on the building commission and serve concurrently on another board commission that you appoint, so.
Has to be a standalone
It
body.
does.
Okay. All right.
And they only meet, you know, they haven't
As
met
needed.
for a number of years, but when we need them, we need them.
With a
But they could-
a background in finance or banking?
Not
or-
necessarily, no.
Okay.
So just keep that in the back of your mind.
Maybe Doug would be a good one after the end of the year, huh?
Well, we appointed Norwood when he retired.
Yeah.
We were quick to take him on that board. And
I mean,
he's-
Doug's done really
He's been
well.
a good member.
You know, refinancing bonds, those types of things.
Yes, he has.
You can make that motion today.
Huh?
You can make that motion today.
Get my- go ahead and put
What he
him
gets
on.
for not being here, right?
Put him on before he shows up.
He got voluntold. All righty. Let's see here. Where am I? Oh, we're a little bit ahead of schedule, but Sheriff Harmon is here, and we request to reject the bid for RFP for ammunition. So come on up, sir.
The council has probably all the information that you need on the bid. And the only thing, I just asked the sheriff to be here just to explain why he would like to rebid it. And as you know, because it was open publicly and read into record, only the council can reject the bid, so.
Okay, Sheriff Harmon, all yours.
Yeah, so obviously we try to put our best foot forward in a lot of these things. I will tell you that I'm not a subject matter expert with RFPs, and our office decided to go with your standard RFP templates that we've been doing, and we unfortunately realized after the one proposal was received, because the bid specialist for that company actually jotted a note down at the bottom that it was an 18 to 24 month return on delivery of goods. And of course that was completely unexpected, but I felt that I fell short on potentially projecting something like that. Having not called training centers and stuff in the area and posing the question, are you having problems receiving ammunition? They have, but just not to this degree. I mean, what they were to get in 3 months, they got in 6. So it just wasn't perceived that this was that long. I knew that they had an issue. I just didn't realize it was actually 18 to 24 months. So when you think about projecting a year to 2 years ahead, it's difficult at that point. We didn't realize that until we actually got the return. So, you know, had I better equip myself in terms of projecting the obstacles. I still don't think I would have projected a year or two out there.
You think
Even-
it's improved?
I think it will improve. I think it will get better, but Valley Guns Training Center and all these other folks are, I mean, your distributors are tending to their biggest clientele. They assume that law enforcement will be provided for, and we're probably second on their list in terms of delivery and whatnot. But when you're competing with, I mean, we're ordering roughly 300,000 rounds of ammunition, and when you're competing with someone ordering 3 million, they kind of put those folks a little bit ahead.
And
So it will get better.
we did get a bid from Mountaineer Custom, as you can see from your read, we did get a bid from Mountaineer Custom cartridge, but it was after your
Deadline.
meeting, and as you know, we couldn't accept it. So I would assume that if the RFP is redistributed, I'd probably have at least 2 bids, maybe.
At a minimum, that was the spirit behind my request to reject the bid. In all fairness, without realizing the turnaround, because even the other bid that was received late, the turnaround was the same, anywhere between 12 to 24 months. No one realized that, so I think if we offer that, or at least say the turnaround, we are acceptable with an 18 to 24 month turnaround, I think we'll get more bids and it'll be a lot more challenging to the market, in all fairness. But definitely 90 days was not feasible or realistic enough times right now. But I do think it would get better. Yeah.
Okay. Heard the review. Is there a motion to approve the request to reject the bid RFP for ammunition?
And so moved.
Have a motion? Second. All those in,
Let the record reflect that you're rejecting the bid from Keesler Police Supply,
okay.
please.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed. Motion carries.
We will work with the sheriff to rebid that.
Sounds good. This is it. Anything else, Sheriff?
School resource.
School resource.
Yes. As you well know, the past couple of months, I've been very, very active with school safety and trainings and school board safety meetings. And even before that, we broached the idea of floating SROs and whatnot. It was only until Mr. Comer, who's the director of Pupil Services, that he dropped off a contract to my office, and I was looking at the $52,000 monetary amount in terms of compensation within the contract. The verbiage of the contract looked adequate, but when we started doing our research, I guess that $52,000 monetary number has not changed in the past 10 years. And so we've been trying to do some research in terms of what projected monies would be, and Mr. Davis can expand on this for sure, but we tried to average, a senior SRO like Deputy Wilmer, who's got over 10 years as a deputy, and then you've got Deputy Strickler, who's got a little over 2, or just about 2, and you try to marry those hours up in terms of what hours they were last year, and you're coming up with 61 and some change in terms of hours spent on extracurricular school events. And so we came up with a number a little over 10,000. I believe the number was
74, 73.
Yeah. So, and truth be told, I don't think the school board and their budgetary planning or whatnot planned for this at all. Obviously, no one knew about the 15% increase that the council had blessed the county with, understandably. But again, our research shows that number has not changed in 10 years. You just got to compensate for inflation and stuff like that. So, in speaking with the deputy superintendent, I believe we're coming up with a plan in terms of those overtime hours that are spent by the SROs in school events, and them compensating the general fund, the 10,000 plus. And I have a I have a more exact number for you here. 10,295 and 25 cents is just a more exact number. Not saying it's 100% the number, but it is an approximate number when you incur FICA, retirement, and the 61.5 hours of overtime allotted to the SROs. They did as an average year allotment of overtime used. So we came up with the $10,295.25. It appears that they're in discussion to, it's not been confirmed yet. They're still deciding it, that they would invoice us, or we would bill them, I should say, the 10,000 for as that is procured. Of course, I just learned this morning for the most part, but we would bill them and they would allot that. As far as the additional monies in terms of their standard salary past the 52,000, in all honesty, I don't think they budgeted for it. I'm not so sure that they'll be able to provide that. I will say that I think it's understood that there's a public safety aspect to this that I obviously have to provide. Obviously that security for the schools. I asked that
These officers are just for the high school?
we have 3 SROs, yes, sir.
What about the junior highs or middle school?
Our SROs they make their rounds. Again, it was the idea last year that I tried to implement within floating SROs, because if there's an issue at the middle school that takes away the SRO at the high school, and then they go address the problem, well, who do you have at the high school? And, there's just a lot that happened last year that made us realize that there's a potential gap there. And so I don't think that the floating SRO idea was broached. I asked the school for 3. And I just don't know how far that conversation got, to be honest with you.
Yeah, with the kids being more savvy than they used to be. I can see where they would need them in the middle school. Lord help the elementary school. So.
I did a tour in Coweta County, Georgia. My daughter's a 3rd grade teacher there, helping her set up for her classroom. I was very, very surprised to see that their student population is significantly higher per facility. They're actually 1,000 plus more students per high school than ours. They have an SRO in every single school. I think they had right around 26, 27 schools. Now, whether the state supplies that or not, I will advise the council. My intentions are to go down Charleston, speak with the education committee, and try to seek funding for providing additional SROs through grant funding. That would be a revolving fund. That's not something that would require us to, that wouldn't dry out. That potentially we could. I'm seeking the potential avenue of the state funding that for middle schools and feeder schools. Don't know where that will go, but obviously there's an issue that we have right now. I don't feel that the coverage is adequate.
So you're looking more of a permanent funding source as opposed to
Yes, sir.
a grant?
Yes, sir.
Right.
And floating SROs would be ideal because they could move, and you'd have very similar to the way we do shifts. You have a north unit, you have a south unit, you have a 3rd unit that's just roving and taking care of everything. You got people on sick leave, you got people on holiday. They take those persons' spots, because here's what's happening right now. We rotate those SROs every year. Some people don't want to do it. It needs to be a full-time position. I need to advocate for maybe even citizens to apply for the sheriff's office, to become a certified law enforcement officer, but their duty will be 100% as an SRO. I don't know, exactly how this will turn out, but we need permanent placement because they're relearning every year. We've got really good, open-minded folks as far as deputies, but these deputies are, I'm taking a road deputy and putting them at Musselman High School. And they've never been to an SRO school. We had to send these folks to a week-long SRO school in Pennsylvania recently, thank God. But not everybody has that kind of training. And instead of rotating every year, if I had a permanent placement, that would resolve a lot of not only cost, but gaps in terms of actually being a very good SRO. You know, you establish this relationship with the students, and then at the end of the year, you leave. I just don't agree with that. So we're seeking those avenues.
Well, and I would think they would do a better job if they were permanent in there as well, just for the mere fact that they've learned where the problems
To
are.
learn the environment.
Yeah.
So we're in discussion. I'm assuming that there's going to be some additional discussion with the county administrator and school board. And like I said, I learned a lot of some new information this morning in terms of where they're at in discussion. And so that will continue. But that is the gist of my information that I had at the time, that we will build them for anything over.
Are the SROs currently in the schools, or?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, I have Deputy Strickler, Deputy Keller, and Deputy Wilmer. Deputy Wilmer's in Hedgesville, Deputy Keller's in Spring Mills, and Deputy Strickler is in Musselman.
And I brought this to the council's attention because number one, it's a contract with the county, and you'd have to give the president the authority to sign. But recently we had a conversation, you had a conversation with the sheriff. One of the local construction companies asked for a deputy to be placed along the interstate, and the council did not approve that only because it did not cover our costs. The contract that the board has proposed states very clearly on page 1 that the Board of Education agrees to reimburse the county for its expenses in providing said SROs. And as you can see, it's 200 out of the 260 days that's available. So we're taking a road deputy off the road for 200 days. If during the course of those 200 days, one of the SROs calls in sick or they're not available, then I assume you have to backfill that position. So it impacts the number of road deputies that the sheriff has. And it clearly, that $52,000 clearly doesn't cover the average salary and outfitting and everything that goes along with those 3 SROs. You can see that the average for those 3 officers is $74,073. So you're $50,000 or $22,000 per SRO short on reimbursement. The council needs to decide whether you're going to eat that $22,000 or how you want to move forward.
Well, I mean, I would think that it would have been taken one step further to actually say that there was reimbursement for that and not tie in a dollar figure to that, because the reimbursement is, I mean, it's fluid. It changes all the time. I mean, as they escalate in their time and service, their pay is going to increase due to that. Raises that come along, changes in PERS, that kind of thing. I mean, there's modifications that happen to that all the time. So, I mean, either you're going to do it, at least once a year, or you're going to have it to where it states that they agree to reimbursement.
Yeah, and I agree that I don't think there should be a number attached to that. And if this salary has not been looked at for 10 years, that's not fair. So, but I will also say that we have had a tremendous relationship with the Berkeley County school system, and one that I'm personally very proud of. At any time an entity in this county has needed their assistance, they've never ever stepped away. They've always stepped up to the plate. We've had a good working relationship with them. So I would just really encourage to continue working on this to get this resolved. And I know these guys are needed in these schools. And I know that they do move around, and that's what, I'm glad to see different vehicles, even at the elementary school or the primary school, when you go through Inwood or, the Jarrettstown school. So, yeah, we just need to get this resolved, and I understand if they only budgeted a certain amount of money, I get that. But, we'll be into our next year's budget here before long, so, and that, I don't know if they have any contingency funds, available for that or not, but, we have to have that discussion. And I'm not so sure that there should even be, look at a particular officer's wage, like Deputy Wilmer, I know, has been with your agency at least 12 years, maybe a little bit longer. So his rate of pay is gonna be a little bit higher than perhaps Deputy Strickler, who's, I'm not sure how many years she's been here, but at each individual school submit through the school board, their costs.
Well,
And
I
that
think if you had,
74,000 is the average of the three.
right, but I think if you had an agreement where the agreement just stated, and that's why I said that, if it just stated reimbursement, then whatever officer you have on duty at that time that's doing that, that's what you're getting a reimbursement for. I mean,
That's the fairest way to
and it's
do it.
fair, and it's the fairest way to do it. And I think the school board is, like you said, I think they've been more than fair with us the whole time. I don't think we've had any issues at all. So I would think that they would be agreeable and trusting enough that we're going to bill what we have as our cost.
So I'd say keep those conversations going and see where we land. That's just,
So you can table the contract for now.
I think so.
Okay. Is that a motion
You need a motion?
to table it?
No, because I really didn't give it, it's not on not for approval,
Okay.
so we'll just continue.
All
It's
right.
the consensus of the council that this discussion will continue. Look, and Eddie, I may reach out to you because I know you know some of the folks that are involved.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Sheriff Harmon, you're still up with the prosecuting attorney and our deputy county administrator at Live PD virtual ride-along program.
Yeah, so I've taken, my stance on transparency. I love it. I feel that our community needs to see us out there doing what it is that we do best. We've portrayed a very good image in that respect, and coming into the department and identifying existing programs and creating new ones was obviously part of our goals, and we've identified that the Live PD was and I kind of gave Mike some assurances. He is here from Hornby Productions. I love the transparency of your program, and I want to keep it alive and well. And it wasn't too long after taking office, that a document had surfaced from former prosecuting attorney Pam Neely, and there were some concerns in terms of a prosecutorial and evidentiary and witness testimony type of approach in this letter. So, without reading the letter verbatim, it obviously concerns of mine as well, and I wanted to address it. I wanted to see if there's a possibility to meet halfway, address these concerns, and at the same time offer that same transparency. And I think we've done that. And I wanted all stakeholders involved. Talking with various folks within the county, what are your issues with this? I have my own personal issues with this, very much so like showing officer tactics on video, or maybe dispatching an animal, or identities of folks, and especially with our ACE team and drug interdiction and whatnot being revealed and whatnot. So it's literally, I would say, a year in the making. A year we've went through things. I've involved the prosecuting attorney. I continuously in this process of filtering through what in this mutual aid or mutual agreement of understanding, how this process should work in terms of getting footage, what footage you're going to use, editing, time constraints, approval, disapproval, those conduits in terms of what the end result product was going to be. And we did come up with that. We've defined in terms of what the virtual ride-along would be, how the content would be utilized, hence the presence of Gary, Mr. Ryan here. And I appreciate him being here, that in talking with him, it is a very doable and feasible project that I would like the council to consider because we've, again, worked a year on this, and our prosecuting attorney is satisfied with it, that it meets, and she approves of its content. It gives us the safety net that I will be able to actually look at these productions before their release instead of catching them after their release. But I will be.
Kind of like Cops on TV, is that?
Yes, sir. Kanawha County's doing a form of it. I forget the name, but there's agencies and other agencies like Kanawha County that is actually doing a Cops or Live PD type show with the media. So
this would be the body cam footage, is that?
Yes.
Or it wouldn't be a photographer riding along.
That's correct. So the part of our department's concern was we have a physical body in the car, and then we're dropping them at your local 7-Eleven, kicking them out the door because we've got a pursuit or something like that, or there's other things that's going on in the daily shift that are emergent that puts the camera person at risk, even though they assign a waiver and whatnot. I just didn't, the shift guys would, they prefer not to have a physical body in the car. I listen to their issues. And so how can I do this? And the result was that in the shift brief, the shift supervisor will say, Deputy Miller, during your shift, your body camera footage could potentially be extracted for future live PD use. He's put on notice, he's aware of it, and then he goes throughout his shift. Regardless, 1 to 2 days a week, I believe it was a Tuesday, Thursday, or however Mr. Wine and Mr. Hornby can iron that out in terms of availability, that footage gets extracted. Mr. Hornby has an employee that will do that, and he will pay for that employee to then compile a product, editing and whatnot. The final product will be delivered to my office. My office will review that final product. I have a 2-week window to view that final product and make any suggestions or make any requests to delete or edit certain things. And of course, in our discussions, tag numbers, faces, names, all that is editable in terms of what we're talking about here today. So people are going to be more protected. We take the physical body out of the car, so the liability there is on. We're in agreement, and at the end of the day, the county gets the transparency that we've been wanting. So that's. If you got any other particular questions, I asked Mr. Hornby to be present today to help answer those questions.
How much footage are you looking for?
Per week.
As much as we can. So we'd like to do as much footage as we can. We're looking at 15-minute segments, just depends on the week. So we're working with the sheriff. It's really just trying to be transparent and show the good that the sheriff does. So there might be more in a week, 1 week, and less in another week. It just depends on what is available to us. So we'll take as much as we can and edit those down.
And then you would
I get you. Come on up
broadcast it and
front.
rebroadcast it several
Yeah.
times.
So what's the anticipation of weekly segments?
We would like to do at least 4 segments per week,
And
taking 2 days of footage and editing those down into 4 30-minute shows, if you will.
so I'm trying to get, and you're not giving me what I'm asking for. I'm trying to get how much time it's going to take the sheriff's department to actually go over videos to edit for your show. Because we're going to have to pay, the taxpayers are going to have to pay to video edit something for your show. And that's where I think the problem comes in, is that we're having the taxpayers paying for viewing and looking at these documents and spending their time at the sheriff's department doing this as opposed to chasing bad guys.
So the sheriff would be reviewing the 1 hour of footage a week, essentially. The 1 hour of edited down footage is what we're looking to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And you have a narrator.
We would edit it down. We're just making the body cams into a 15-minute segment, essentially. This is what we're looking for. It might be.
Well,
Give or
we're
take.
careful that there's not an editing, a biased editing.
No, we really just present the facts. It's an open, and then it goes directly, and it's basically, this is what's happening. This is the name of the deputy. This is what's going on.
So how many hours is involved in editing a 1 hour?
It could be up to 40 to 50 hours a week for us.
So once that gets down, then you're gonna have a 1 hour segment, so you're gonna have to have somebody at the sheriff's department spend an hour watching a video. in order
1 hour
to-
a week, yes. 4 15-minute segments per week, and that'd be the sheriff himself.
Anthony, what's our liability to turning over body cam data to an outside source?
So, I mean, my concerns are, certainly body cam footage is public information and it can be obtained through FOIAs, but there are a lot of constraints on that, whether there's an ongoing investigation, if it has personal information about somebody, you can't have an officer ask them.
Minors, you know.
Yeah.
So that's,
There's all sorts of things like that. There's also the risk of if officers know that they're going to be on camera, or is it changing anyone's behavior because they think they're on camera? Of course, concern. I don't know how much of a liability issue that actually is. The actual giving out to the public of what is our public documents, public productions, is not really much of a liability on its own. Now, I don't know what the time frame is, because of course, if there's an ongoing investigation and the prosecutor's needing to look at it's 2 days of coverage. When is the?
So we could essentially go back a year, 2 years, and take footage from 2 years ago and edit that footage down. So all those cases could be over and completely done. They talked about, that's how we start, because obviously we don't want the officers' behavior to change.
Yeah, I think that would make more sense.
Yeah, and that was gonna be my next question, is what happens if something shows up that you deal with and you have to go back 6 months and look at some video of body cam, and now you've exposed that to the public on the show.
And that would be something Gary probably, I don't know how long back you keep the video.
You may not have Gary come up too.
Yeah.
Gary, you want to come up?
If I may, real quick, something to consider, I would like the council to consider, is that Live PD actually existed 4 years, roughly, before I took office. And I would ask the council to take various experiences from that exposure in terms of liability or lawsuits and different things that have come up. And we have just simply taken that same exact program that existed for 4 years and made it a lot more ironclad. So issues in terms of prosecutorial or evidentiary issues, I don't foresee to be any issue at all, actually, because of the actual extraction happening so long in the past. Plus, not to mention the 40 hours that Mike just mentioned to edit, and then my 2 weeks added on to that. You're literally talking about even the most precious information being 3 to almost 4 weeks out from even being released. So if the council could consider that.
So how much time would be involved for IT to deal with that?
None. So understand, and I've heard mentioned here, several people said the word body cameras. It's a lot more than body cameras. You got body cameras You have two front-facing cameras and you have a rear-seat camera. So there's opportunity for editing and building of the whole scene, not just what you see from here, in the car, right, and in front of the car. When the officer goes in and leaves, the camera still runs. So there's lots of great opportunity to create the image of exactly what the sheriff and his team are doing. Step one, and it has nothing to do with my team. We're just the people that set the technical ability up. All of the sharing with the vendor would be from the sheriff's administrative team. So they would pick and choose. They get a request. They have the ability now. They can go in and let's just say March the 23rd of 2022, they could go in, pick Officer Wine, export his cameras, and hit send, give an email, and it shows up security to them, and they can do all their work. So from inside the organization, that's done. That's inherent to us. We do that kind of sharing with other jurisdictions and agencies. Now, as they mentioned earlier, what happens is Mike and his professionals create the document, the 15-minute segment, the sheriff personally reviews it, and then out it goes to the world. But it's greater than just the body camera, but from an internal standpoint, there's no time for us.
I guess my concern is what if my wife calls, and I'm not saying that this would ever happen, but let's say my wife calls and says that, I'm out of control and she feels unsafe. And the deputy rolls up in
That's
my
a daily
driveway,
occurrence.
has my house, my address, and is that gonna be televised? I mean,
No, we're not looking to do any gotcha documentary.
But I'm just
We're trying to
saying-
show the life of a deputy and show the positive. So from an editing standpoint, we're not looking for anything that's going to be, and we always have the ability to take something down too. So we've had incidents in the past, so we filmed stuff that we've got hours of footage of things that we haven't broadcast because we don't want to do bad in the community. We want this to be a positive for the sheriff's department and for the public, and the public really likes it.
I'm just, my concern is that some innocent citizen, some innocent bystander is gonna have their face or their house or their car out there, and we're gonna get a call and say, wait a minute, I haven't done anything wrong, but yet it's on TV.
So the statement I think was made that the prosecutor was on board, but I don't have anything from the prosecutor in my read ahead. Did we get anything from?
Well, we invited her to come over and she may have gotten tied up.
Okay.
Well, when you review it and you have an objection to it, portion of it, what happens?
I send it back to Mike.
He has final say in the contract that we signed. The sheriff has final say on all content,
So if he wants something taken
If he wants
out,
something out, it is,
it happens.
and we are taking all names, we are blurring all license plates, we are taking all minors out, we edit out all the information that's pertinent. We're not doing the major, the undercover work, the things that come up like that. We're just showing the life of the deputy. It's not quite live PD. We're not looking for the action things. It's more a life of the deputy, and that's what people really like seeing Berkeley County Sheriff's and the work that they do.
I had, during your presentation, I had written down just a couple notes, like who reviews the video, which the sheriff said that you would. I would also think that times that you're unavailable, that perhaps the chief deputy, but probably nobody lower than you or the chief.
That's correct.
Right? And that was another question was how fresh, how new is the video that you want to show? But if you're looking, starting back at maybe 2 years ago and bringing forward, then it gives an opportunity for your department to understand what's expected of them as they agree, as the deputy agrees that, yes, you can use my footage, it prepares him, I guess, is
Yeah.
what I'm saying. And the other thing that I see kind of what as a positive to this, it gives you as the sheriff and the chief deputy, the opportunity to look at the deputy's behavior and possibly note changes of training that may be required for that particular deputy to make him better, make him more efficient, make him more safe. You know, because you're not with the deputy, obviously, you've got your own duties, he's got his, but it does give you an opportunity to go back and look at him to say, hey, you're spot on, you're doing a great job, or hey, listen, come here a minute, let's get you enrolled in this class, you know.
It definitely is a tool for our office, and you're right on point, Councilman. This is, I get to see that, and truth be told, I'm not going to Gary, and I'm not watching thousands of hours of body cam footage just out of a whim or on an average basis at all. I got a lot of things going on, and I just don't have that kind of time. But my sacrifice is that hour to be on my lunch break, watching the videos that he puts together. And if it is acceptable to council, then I'm sure it's not going to be out of the norm to request anywhere between an 8 to 12 month back date to extraction of footage. That way we always have that cushion as far as video extraction. And the deputies, yes, they will be notified. And I'd like to think that when, you know, I know that, you know, the council or some thoughts may be that, you know, incentivize different behaviors, but I would like to think that the behaviors would be, you know, well, you know, on the professional side. I've got a camera on. I'm you know, could be viewed, you know, even more so aside from it going in some storage bank, but it could be viewed by the public. And I, you know, this is, you know, I don't want a bad image of my social, you know, skill sets with the public to be, you know, tarnished or anything. So it kind of can force a deputy to reroute the way they handle some things in a very positive way. But I know that there's been multiple requests from the public to bring it back to continue with it. And I know Mike has actually additionally agreed to do a documentary on Berkeley recovery. I've asked him on the side would you be willing and to talk with Tim's Eye, going through folks that are going through recovery and document their journey, especially on the positive side of things. And, you know, and he has agreed to do like 4 episodes of that and continue that kind of relationship in terms of showing people that road of recovery can be a successful one. And it has its ups and downs. And think about, you know, what's that show? Intervention, so to speak. Similar concept, but you actually get to see someone going through recovery. And Mike and his crew has agreed to do that on top of this. So there's definitely a lot of good that can come out of it. And I just wanted to add that.
I'd like to add.
Go ahead.
When we were doing the Berkeley County, when we were doing the show back when the last sheriff was gone, when they came in, we had sponsors during the show, so we came in and we purchased or sponsored a lot of the programs that Nate was talking about. So we gave back to the sheriff's department a number of for the law publications, I believe it was. But they were distributing masters.
The May 21st community event, they sponsored as well and advertised it on the radio. So there's a lot of, this relationship has been very fruitful since me taking office, and a patient one with a project that was existing before I got there. So trying to appease all ends of this has taken us a year. So
Yeah.
I hope the council can consider adopting one of you.
What's the broadcast range?
It's international. I mean, the TV 10 is just Berkeley and Jefferson County. So the Comcast Channel 10 is just Berkeley and Jefferson. But our YouTube channel is international.
Is there any chance of you selling this program to anybody else, or
No.
anybody else
No.
broadcast?
Well, there's always a chance of him selling.
No, there's no
Everything's
chance.
for sale all the
There's no
time.
chance that I would sell give programming to anybody else. It's part of the deal we have. It belongs to TV10, and in the end, it's the sheriff's discretion of what actually comes out.
No, I was talking about TV 10 in itself, you know, everything's.
Well, everything's for sale. You're right about that, Dan.
No,
The
so,
prosecutor was in a meeting, but she said if you'd like to conference her in, she'd be happy to give you her opinion.
so my concern is two things, and in order for me to be on board, I would obviously want to know that the prosecutor's on board, and I'd like to have something in writing from the prosecutor so that we have it for, the council has it for their records. The other concern is, that I have is that, a deputy needs to have the ability to say no. He doesn't want to be part of this program and have his body cam footage released onto TV 10.
I think that's, technically it's public information, but I have no problem with deputy agreeing. It's just
Yeah.
gotta go back and do it.
But I think that if you're going back and having a deputy out there doing what they do, and I mean, obviously they're out there every day doing what they do, and everybody sees it, and I get that.
Well, it brings up another point. If the deputy's no longer employed by the sheriff,
Right. That's what I say. I mean, I
I
think they.
don't know if you can if you want to broadcast.
Well, I just think that individual needs to be able to at least agree to being on TV, you know?
I think we're slightly overthinking things a little bit. They are public servants. They understand that. They put that uniform on a daily basis, knowing that they are constantly being monitored. I can't tell you, I lost count of how many cameras were out when we did a March interdiction team effort by the task force and all them. Last count was like 60 phones or whatnot. So I think the deputies are very well aware of how documented their activities are. So it's I don't think that's ever really been, I've never heard, and again, I've spoken with the shifts, and I've never really heard anybody proffer a permission slip or anything.
They're not camera shots.
Right. So it's Yeah.
So what you're saying is you wouldn't have any objections, and if you don't have any objections, then what my request isn't really an issue, right?
they've never had an objection. I don't think it'll ever be an issue.
I would say,
I guess with all the current, I mean, it's all over the media now, but the current threats against law enforcement, you know, the FBI agents that were just involved in that raid, they don't want their faces to be made public.
Right.
We may have some deputies that feel the same way, that for their safety and the safety of their families, they don't want people to know.
Well, and that's
So I
my
think
only
that's a
thought.
good
If they say, no, I don't want to be part of this, they should have an option to not be part of it. I know that I wouldn't want somebody following me around every day with a camera. And I'm in public office, so.
Well, I've asked for concerns, and that's just never been one of them. It's never been brought up. No one's ever disagreed with me. But I don't have a problem with putting it out there that if they do disagree with being on camera, then well, I guess we'll move on to the next one. I mean, I don't think it's a game stopper with that.
So you
I
would
think
have no
this-
objection to you being one.
Absolutely not.
this could all change with another sheriff also.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, next sheriff comes in, I mean, you can
Unless we
only do
set-
an agreement.
Well, and if and I wish Council President Copenhaver was here, because if you remember, this whole program was stopped 3 or 4 or 5 years ago because you did get a complaint from someone that they thought their image
Privacy.
their privacy had been breached.
If you all want Katie to,
I mean, we don't have to solve it today, I mean, we could go ahead and.
I can provide the emails.
What's that?
I can provide the emails of our
Well,
discussion.
like I said, I'd prefer that we have a conversation with her, have something writing from her office that
Right.
approves it, and we could
I
address
did.
it next week or something.
Councilperson Gokenhour, we were, just had a little brief discussion. Gary Wine, was there any other concerns that you could see or not see that you think that would be of your opinion?
Not technically. The sheriff's done his due diligence. That, if you'll remember my statement earlier, the very first, what will happen, here's the process. You'll get a request from Mike to the sheriff. His command staff will go get it, right? And while they're getting it, they have opportunity to look at it. Let's just say they ask for Deputy Wine for March 31st, 2022. The command staff goes to get it. And inside their software, when they use this stuff, they create cases, and they could tag that recording. So maybe that recording is tied to an act of murder. Big red flag. They're not going to send that to the media. So already with the sheriff's advancement in the way he manages and the way they leverage technology, they have safety measures in place for that. So even the prosecutor's office has access to this same stuff unadulterated by the sheriff. So if the prosecutor has a case, hypothetically speaking, maybe it's an internal case, right? When the command staff were to go to export that to deliver, they're going to know that can't happen.
So there's a parameter in the software that allows
There are
to market that
there
says,
are
"Don't
all
send."
driven at the sheriff's direction. He's worked really hard and continues to work hard and push us to be able to let him be transparent. I've heard him say it a couple of times now. So no, I'm very confident in the configuration internally. Their process and procedures are documented in the document. So if everybody pays attention, and this is one of the things that, and Anthony said it earlier, this is all public information. They deal with FOIAs and stuff all the time. So if you get the request and it's not open, you can do that. Now, when the public asks for it, the redactions and things that Mr. Hornby's speaking of, that's a huge amount of work on the inside. But in this instance, that's not happening. They're going to do that themselves. So no, I don't see anything technically that offers any hurdles that the sheriff isn't prepared for.
Okay.
And I don't see any big flags either. I mean, I don't, other than I think that, an individual should be able to choose whether or not it's on him, and then that, we get a conversation with the prosecutor that she's on board,
I got to share a little bit of concern, the same as our administrator. I mean, I've been involved in a lawsuit. Don't like it. Never have. Never wanted to be. But I've paid for an education of a lot of lawyers to defend me on some stuff. But my that would be one of my concerns. Also, our liability coverage through West Virginia Corp, or the risk pool.
But we have a letter on file.
Yeah.
They are concerned about our exposure.
Yeah. I
mean, they wouldn't tell you what to do and what not to do.
Right.
But
But
they will
there's
tell you that.
There's definitely exposure for us. I mean, I got to agree with that. But yeah, we'll, I don't want to make it go too much longer, but I'd like to see the wording or the documents from the prosecuting attorney and before we sign this MOU. Is that a fair statement? Is that okay?
Good.
All right, thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I'd like to continue on instead of going on with the break.
Going on break? All righty. Next in line is, where was our break at? Did I move? 10:40. We have Ken Sayre here, Esquire, for City of Martinsburg, petition for annexation.
Trying to get some people good.
Can you fill us in a little bit here on the purpose of this annexation? Does this have to do with stormwater?
No, this is a small piece of property that connects a piece that's already in the city that's being developed for an apartment complex. This is actually going to be the access to Delmar Orchard Road.
So it's more of a right-of-way procedure than,
Yeah, they want the whole piece of property to be in one jurisdiction, so it'd be in the city, so that it would just easier to deal with. That's the purpose that they asked for. It's a 0.99 acre tract. It used to have it may still have a house on it that they're tearing down, and then this will be the access for this apartment complex, the Delmar Orchard.
So the apartment complex is behind it.
The apartment complex is behind it, and that piece of property is already in the city. It's
What about the two properties Jason, Joyce Kane and Robert Henson. Are they in the city?
Let me take a look at my little map here. No, I believe those two pieces of property are not in the city. Those are in.
Still off of
It's
them.
interesting the way that the road and the city line comes in. The
It's
corporate-
interesting way the city lines go all over, not
True,
just in one
true.
spot.
And, you know, in West Virginia, in the eastern part of the country, we're a lot different than the western part of the country where everything's square and here we go by creeks and hillsides and all. But yes, those two pieces of property are not in the city. They have not approached the city to come into the city. So they purchased, Dummer Orchard Apartments purchased that little piece so that they would have access to Dummer Orchard
So
Road.
they're gonna, you say there's a house on it now.
There was a house there.
That'll be
That was-
torn down if it hasn't already been.
I cannot remember if they've already torn it down or they're about to tear it down. That house was a house that was in, I believe, pretty bad shape. It was a foreclosure. There was a huge, part of the reason that this was sort of slowed down was there was a foreclosure. The person that had the property refused to leave, and the purchasers had to go through a process to get them evicted from the house. So,
I notice here, I don't know if this is, maybe legal can help me out on this. It shows the meets and bounds actually go to the opposite side of the Delmar Orchard Road. Is this, you see what I'm saying?
yes, and I believe that that's how, that's the, when that subdivision was done, Dummer Orchard Road came through the subdivision. So this is the entire lot that would be there.
Okay, my concern would be for the city, is that that portion of the road then becomes their responsibility.
That's correct. That would be part of the city.
State road.
Well, it's a state road when it comes to the
You said-
paving and all of that. Now, you know, it may be that Sheriff Harmon wouldn't be able to place maybe George Fortwood would place a city police car out there, but yeah.
Well, that would be my thought. I mean, it's just that section of 133.33 feet of that highway or the Delmar Orchard Road that belongs to the city, and the city takes care of their own streets. Is that correct?
It's already a DOH road,
Yeah.
so it would remain just as
Okay.
the DOH road's going through the city.
I'm splitting hairs here on this, but
They
I
want to repair that.
I don't, you know, it's just that little portion. There's a portion right over here off of
Sure.
Sheridan that you know, nobody wants to claim, and you know, it's bad road over there. It needs to be paved. And Thompson and Sheridan. So there's a fight over that one. I just don't want the same fight to happen here.
So this parcel's owned by Delmar Orchard Road Apartments LLC?
That's correct. And they, it's part of the certificate that was filed. We also attached the petition that they gave to the city of Martinsburg for petition annexation without election. Also, I believe we provided a copy of the ordinance that was passed May 19th, where the city went through the process of its portion of the process to do an annexation without election, and that was provided.
And
So the intent is to build an apartment complex behind it, is what you're saying?
That's correct.
Is that
And-
between 81 and Delmar?
Yes.
Is that property part of the, that property, let me look here, I'll pull it up here. My computer's acting kind of slow here.
Mine was too. I couldn't get it up earlier.
It's just thinking, the property behind it, I see that two lots down there is actually like a right of way, a very small sliver of lot going back to that farm. Is that property part of that as well?
Of the larger
Longview-
piece, I'm
Longview.
not sure.
Yeah, Longview Acres LLC owns both of those.
I've seen the
So-
plans before. I think that's a second entrance onto the DOH right of way because there's going to be a number of apartments out there. For safety concerns, they need two.
So there's actually two right now.
Yeah, they actually could use this as the right of way out there. It's just,
Right.
they would be dealing with two different jurisdictions.
So this is a permanent, it will be a permanent entrance to the,
Yes,
not
yes.
just a construction.
No, the intent, is my understanding, this would be, I believe, the main entrance into the apartment complex.
Right, so there is two entrances right now to that Longview LLC.
Right.
Coming off of Delmar Orchard Road currently, at which both of those are in the city right now.
No, one of them's in the county.
The two that, well.
Oh, the one you're showing in the
Unless your
large-
map is whacked up, but
Well-
your map on here shows that all the way down just about to the sharp turn, there's an entrance into the property that's part of the city. And then there's a, I don't know, I'm gonna guess probably a 75-foot, 50 to 75-foot section that goes back into it that's part of that property as well.
Correct.
Right. So you're basically trying to create a larger entrance to the property so that you could have a big entrance into it and have all of it in the city.
Correct.
How big of an apartment complex is this?
I'm not sure offhand. But I would point out that under the code for petitions for annexation without election, this actually is more of a ministerial function of your all.
Right.
We provide the certificate, you all can review to make sure we met our requirements, and then I believe under the statute, your obligation then is to approve the annexation, as opposed to an annexation by minor boundary adjustment, which is a much more involved portion for the county. Public hearings, because we had the public hearings at our level this time.
Mr. Vice President, you ready for a motion?
Yes, sir.
Sure. Make a motion that we accept the petition for annexation for the Longview Acres subdivision, parcel 72, containing 0.9745 acres in the Arden District.
48, I'm sorry. 97.48.
Second,
It's 40.
and it's a matter of discussion. When you have a number less than one,
Yes.
always put 0 point. That's how you do it.
I will
Not
put that in my notes.
Not 0.99, 0.99, because there's a couple places in here, they left off the point, and then all of a sudden it's now 99 acres.
Okay.
A little note of
Clerical.
encouragement to do that.
Have a motion, to have a second?
You already did.
Second.
And
All those in
have
favor,
discussion.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed, motion carries.
And I've previously provided the order to council, and I think that you all may have a copy of the order for the annexation.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, we have, next on the agenda at 11, we're right on time. The Honorable Elaine Mock, County Clerk, Emergency Precinct Update.
Good day, folks. I wanted to bring you some updates from the election. This is one that's official that you have to have before we can move forward, because I'll be honest with you, Civics and the crew at SOS is really, every time we think we have everything lined up, then they pull the rug out from under us, but it's consistent. We had several issues with some voting locations, and we had 3 that we were trying to change, and because, again, of not meeting the guidelines that they changed, they went one direction and we were fine, and then all of a sudden, oh no, you didn't hit that deadline. So I have 2 precincts that we are changing. The one is from the airport. We're taking it to Grace Church, which is at 748 Novak Drive. It used to be that they had the whole pilots area that they could use, and now they're down to the museum, and it was just too crowded. And then the second one, the Johnsontown Bible Church, is the one that we're moving from the Masonic Hall, and it just doesn't have any parking. And so we needed a whole lot more parking, because that's the whole northern section of the county that involves Precinct 62. So those 2 that I had, this is called emergency changes, and it's due to increased population and those things. So I had to let you know about that. There's several other things that we were not able to do the early satellite. We did all the parts with getting the letters from the Democrats. The Republicans didn't want it. We made the presentation, and all the other, and then at the very end, they said, oh no, you had to have 30 days notice. I thought it was 30 days after you approved it. No, it's 30 days before you approve it. So the law is very clear, and SOS really helps us out a lot when you keep asking, and they just keep bouncing things back and forth. And then they go, oh no, it's too late. So I'm sorry about that, but it was not because we weren't trying. We have done everything trying to stay on top.
So only you have,
It's going to be the Dunn building.
yeah, that's it.
That's it. I can't, I mean, we had to have the approval of the locations, and had to have all that, so we kissed all those frogs. And then, I can't understand when you're gonna do something, why up front isn't what you're supposed to do, and not at the back end of about 4 or 5 paragraphs, and it says, oh, you gotta do this 30 days before. So, somehow that got missed, and that's what happened. Further down the ladder is, of course, we have been notified by the auditor, I, as an elected official who will be leaving office as of December 31st, I can only spend 1/2 of the budget. So I guess I'll have to do a presentation. Do I have to do a presentation?
Man, we'll have to, you can't talk about that because it's not on the
Okay,
agenda.
all right, I
so
did, but I was saying it was
we'll have
under
to do that.
voters. It just had to do with the fact we have an election. That was all I was gonna say.
Yes, ma'am.
And then this is Amendment 2 that I will give to Mr. Davis. I got this morning by email about wanting the county commissions and county councils to review. So, I'm finished on that. But I just wanted to ask about that.
Yeah.
All righty. Do we need a motion to approve the emergency precinct update? I think we do need one. To approve the locations.
Yeah,
Yeah, so move.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Like, sign, opposed. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Take a break.
Take a break. Got a 10-minute break? Then Tracy's up.
I've got 15 minutes.
Make a phone call. Gavel's back to the president.
All right, we're back in session. Next on our agenda is Tracy Gomes, a grant administrator. Request to apply for DOT Reconnecting Communities pilot.
This is the U.S. Department of Transportation. It's a planning grant for 24 months. It is $250,000 total project with a request of $200,000, a 20% match of $50,000. The purpose of this grant program is to reconnect communities by removing, retrofitting, or mitigating transportation facilities such as highways and rail lines that create barriers to community connectivity, including to mobility, access, or economic development. The grant program provides funding for planning and capital construction to address infrastructure barriers, restore community connectivity, and improve people's lives. The variety of transportation solutions to knit communities back together can include high-quality public transportation, infrastructure removal, pedestrian walkways and overpasses, capping and lids, linear parks and trails, roadway redesigns, and complete street conversions and Main Street revitalization. This grant will pay for the following: a study for an entrance to Sportsman's Paradise to connect the residents and visitors to the future recreation area.
Okay. All right, anybody have any questions for Tracy on that one? All right. Ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion on the floor, a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. And you have NPS Historic Preservation Fund, History and Equal Rights Preservation.
This is potential funding from the National Park Service for planning grants for preservation of the Berkeley County Courthouse. The duration is 24 months. The maximum award is $75,000. Total project $75,000. Total request $75,000 with a zero match. Background: the National Park Service's History African American Civil Rights Preservation Grant Program will preserve sites and stories for the full history of the African American struggle to gain equal rights as citizens. The National Park Service 2008 report, Civil Rights in America, a framework for identifying significant sites, will serve as a guide to determining the appropriateness of proposed projects and properties. It will fund a broad range of preservation projects for historic sites, including architectural services, historic structure reports, preservation plans, and physical preservation to structures. The Berkeley County Courthouse is listed as a contributing structure to the Martinsburg Historic Downtown District. J.R. Clifford, West Virginia's first Black attorney, practiced law in Martinsburg, West Virginia. He argued a case in the courthouse that colored people should be part of the jury. The prosecutor took a paperweight, inkstand, and other items and smashed Clifford over the head. He went home, cleaned himself up, and returned to the courthouse. Mr. Clifford spent his whole life fighting for equal rights of all people. He was a founding member of the Niagara Movement, which was the groundwork that became the NAACP. Mr. Clifford's legacy and connection to the Berkeley County Courthouse with equal rights is very vast. Using J.R. Clifford and other significant events which took place in the Berkeley County Courthouse relating to the fight for civil rights, we can use these as a project for this grant. The grant funding will pay for the following: a planning study for preservation of the Berkeley County Courthouse and historic documents.
Seems like an important reason. All right. Thank you, Tracy. Need a motion for the NPS Historical Preservation Fund for History at the Courthouse. Have a motion on the floor in a second. Any discussion on that? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries.
I will say that's the first time I ever heard that story.
That's mine too.
Me too.
Oh, there's a ton more.
When Tracy came,
Maybe you should come in sometime, just tell us stories.
when she came to me 2 weeks ago and said she wanted to apply for that grant, I said, I don't think it's applicable. And then she told me the story, and that's the first time I had heard about it. And what we had talked about is someday, once we get the clerk's office down here, maybe that will be a welcome center or the 100 West King, or maybe we can move the CBB in there. I don't know, but then we could directly tie that into 110.
Right. Yeah, they're gonna I think that's gonna be a pretty fascinating corner before long.
Yeah, I think they'll complement one another.
Yeah.
Well, plus the library, I think our library should be part of that too.
Even though it's not a historic structure,
No, but it has historic content.
it sure does.
The demolition of 126 starts Monday, by the way.
A lot of people wanna watch that.
So,
So Matthew Harvey, I had a conversation with him, and he's doing a whole study about Black history right now.
Is he?
Yeah, and he was talking about some of the families that are still here that were here during that period, you know,
That's
prior
pretty,
to the Civil
right.
War. And he was talking, I'm pretty sure he said Mosby's was one of them.
Mhm.
He went down a whole list, some of the properties out in the south end of the county, talking about the chains and stuff and still in the basements of some of the stuff. It was pretty interesting what he's talking about.
Sounds like something for Matt to work on, yeah.
Tracy done an incredible job with research. And we said,
Wait, are you ever gonna say anything bad about Tracy?
well, I do behind closed doors.
Matt has
It's-
helped us on this.
It's,
He
you know,
does
how
a
they
lot
say
lately.
public parade, he's private, you know.
Yeah, uh-huh. All right, well, thank you, Tracy.
All right, thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
And we made the first cut for Samson. We made it to the next round.
right.
Really?
That's $1 million a year grant. We got notification this week.
That's what, $1 million what?
It's $1 million a year for 4 years for
Right.
Samson. So we made
For
the first
the
cut.
report center, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got notification.
Hate to say it.
Do what?
We got the notification Monday or Tuesday that we
Yeah,
got the
I see
first
that.
cut, that we've been elevated to the next review.
Okay. All right, next on our agenda is Alan Davis, the County Administrator, State Budget Revision Number 3, Fund 001.
If council will recall, we did a fairly large state budget revision just 2 weeks ago, to kind of get us caught back up and back into the normal cycle of things. We try to do one at the end of every month, so this is just our normal end of August state budget revision, which is why it's so small. But I wanted to get it before you because we did get reimbursement, or we did reimburse ourselves to the tune of $326,975 from the American Rescue Act, and I wanted to get that back into our contingency. Some of the other things that are included in this is the IT department did receive a check for $3,556 from the sewer district for IT services. The sheriff did receive a small overtime reimbursement from the Jefferson County sheriff, and that's all part of the West Virginia Highway Safety grant that that Jefferson County Sheriff is overseeing. That's $468. And then we did receive reimbursement from the West Virginia Corp for repairs to a 2018 Ford Police Interceptor that was involved in an accident. So again, total amount of this state budget revision is $362,952. Pretty small by our standards anyway.
All right. We need a motion to approve
State budget revision.
State Budget Revision Number 3, Fund 001.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion on the floor in a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries.
That's all I have.
All right. Any items from the public?
No, sir. You
No.
have one more thing.
All right, so let's, yeah, I know. So I guess let's recess until, you want to start, Leroy? You got anybody else with you? Okay. Just you? All right, then let's go. Leroy Manspile, Health Department issues.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I thought I had a speech prepared because I just left the site. I can't use the speech that I had prepared because I don't have anything to report. No, that's not good. You know, I thought when Mr. Tony, excuse me, your last name, but I asked, you know, last week when I asked him to put on the schedule, I listened to the Zoom meeting from Berkeley Springs for the health department. And everything they said was, we don't know, but we want to learn. we want to change. So I thought, okay, if you're going to do that, I'll go out there on this project that's been going on since December, middle of December, dug it in the wet. I'll dig 5 more holes, and I'll have you come out and look at them, because Pauline said she wanted to learn. Mr. McLaughlin said, we just got this today. The new procedures, I have them right here, and he showed them on the Zoom meeting. We have the new procedures. They're not the new procedures. The procedures we've always had. They're the procedures that they broke 100% for me. Okay? I didn't get my day in court. My customer didn't get their day in court. So I go, and Kara says, if we just dig some holes, 15, 20 feet from the other ones. Okay, so I said, if they say they're willing to learn and they're willing to change, I'll go dig 5 more holes. So last night at 7:30, the next time any of you, all of you know Phil Pittsnott, ask Phil Pittsnott at 7:30, we dug those holes. Okay, and this morning we looked at all of them. But the first thing he did when he pulled up, he goes, did they say that was modeling? And I said, they did. I have it right here. 5 holes have modeling, so we have to do this, 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 and this. And he kind of snickered and he goes, boy, he said, in Jefferson County. He said, you need to start working in Jefferson County. He said, in Jefferson County, he said, the girls email you. They come out to the holes and they tell you before you leave what you have to do, or you can talk to them. Okay? So this morning, I go out to the site. First of all, they send me when I asked to be put on the agenda and I dig these holes, okay, everything's just fine. So I go out to the site, so that they send me a letter back. We don't want Mr. Flegel there. I had a soil scientist there. Okay, he drove here from Harrisonburg early, because when they tell you you don't need a soil scientist, you need a soil scientist. Okay, so Don Flegel comes in, and I have Kara, I have Marty, and I have Miss Paul. Okay, and they were really nice. Don't get me wrong, they were really nice. I expected them when I left. I looked at Marty and I said, Marty, I said, it looks like we're good with 5 class 1s. He goes, I don't know. Remember my theme from before? I don't know, but they took pictures again. What in the devil are we doing taking pictures? If I pay to have somebody evaluate the soil site, do you want me to take pictures for you? I'll take pictures for you. But why are we taking pictures? I thought we wanted to learn. And Miss Pauling she was awesome. She was, I really want to learn, and we need to make changes. What are you changing? Marty, what are you doing? Are you taking pictures? Are you going to go back and look at the soil book? Get it out of your Jeep. My soil scientist pulls his out of his vest and said, this is what it is. What are we should not be looking at soil books. We're looking at the soil. What good are these pictures going to do? Are we going to send them to Hirsch's again? The only good thing that came out today was, they said, you don't have any modeling. Really? We didn't have any modeling before. We didn't have it before. So, my question and my comment to Mr. Tony is, what are we doing here? I should have known when I walked off that job this morning that I had 5 class 1s.
I didn't know eventually.
But you know what? There's no modeling. I got plenty of fines.
What about bedrock?
Well, Ms. Pauling goes, well, it says in the book, there's a difference between bedrock and rippable bedrock. We have 0 bedrock. Okay? Mr. Flegel corrected him 3 or 4 times. He made him throw up the rock that he thought, and he taught him. He did. He did a really great job in teaching them, listen, you guys might think this is modeling, but it's not modeling. It's lithochromic dry modeling, and we're on a crown, okay? So at the end, I go, okay, so what are we going to do here? Oh, we're going to go back and look at it. What? Goodness gracious, you just looked at it. You just looked at 5 holes.
Going to throw you a curve here.
Okay? You're going to throw me a curve?
No. They own 30.
It can be a curve, fastball, slider, change up, it doesn't matter. But I think it's really pathetic that we don't have people. If they don't know, I brought in a guy that's 42 years, USDA soil scientist. And he told, and then they tell me today, and Marty's the same guy that was there before, said it was modeling. Okay, my holes are only 20 foot apart. They're the same daggone thing. Okay, maybe a couple of them, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe had a little bit more fines. But I don't know what the answer is here. You know, I don't know what they're going to come back and say. And, you know, realistically, you know, for the Trucks family, Karen goes, well, you should have done this back in January. Wait a minute. I'm in 3 different meetings with you guys, and you say you're going to learn and you're going to help and you're going to do, you don't do anything. So this morning, again, I'm no further ahead than I was December the 15th. I don't know what the answer is. You know, I'm just, and the reason that, and I'm not, don't mean to complain to you guys, it doesn't do me one hill of beans good to go to their meetings because they control the narrative and they say, these are going to be my rules. You're going to abide by my rules. You're not going to abide by the state rules. I've abided by the state rules in everything that I've done. When I had my very first meeting with them, I said, you know, we have our first option here under the procedures of the state of West Virginia is we do this locally. She goes, we don't have anybody locally. I said, yes, you do. I gave her the 3 names of the people that were locally, and you're one of them. There's 3 people who could have went out there and said, we need to take another look. Okay, but they wouldn't do that. So then I had to go to the next step. I had to hire an attorney, had to do this, had to do that. Okay, so we fought this morning, and everybody's nice, everybody gets along really well. Okay, but yet I'm no further ahead now than I was December 15th. So, you know, it's kind of like I almost sent you and Doug a little video. I took a video of the corner of Jacobs and Scrabble Road that they might want to do is training, and I want them to do a perk test. I have the corner of Jacobs where Stickles lived. When I sold Stickles' house, built that 28 years ago, it perked too fast. It perked at 5. Everything around it is wet, but that convex is not. Okay? I already pre-perked it because I paid $75,000 for that 2.5 acre lot a year ago. Susie and I did. Okay, so that's a good test for them. I'm trying to just come to you as a person that says, we need help. The county needs help. The citizens need help. But try to be a nice guy. You know, sometimes it's hard to be a nice guy when I get this SOAR report last time that says, oh, you got modeling. You got 3 class 2s and you got 1 class 1 with an HAU. And I'm going, but we don't have any modeling by the soil scientists. Today we had 0 modeling. We had 0 modeling, okay? Because he pointed out each rock. He said, throw me that rock. I'm going to teach you. I'm going to teach you what this is, okay? So all I got to say is I'll come back and report to you. I'm going to file an appeal. I still don't have, from December, I still have a septic system open, 20 feet. And again, I'm refusing to pay the $75 because they've already put it in writing that you've got what we want. Okay, so I'm going to file an appeal. I'm going to go to them. I just want to kind of report back to you guys every now and then because Lord knows they're not going to do anything. And it was so disappointing this morning when I looked at them and said, we're good to go with 5 class 1s. You don't know. How in the heck don't you know?
And everyone knows I showed up late, and the reason I showed up late because I was on the site. Okay. One thing that I will say is that the health department itself does seem like Mrs. Poland and I spoke a lot, and they are willing to try to move forward. They're willing to. They got an RFQ, as you know, out for the soil scientists, right?
Did they put out the RFQ?
From what I was told, it is out, and from what I was told, they believe it's 30 days it will be out, and will be doing an RFQ under qualifications. I think today went well, but I would have to say, if the sanitarian couldn't tell Mr. Manspile that they were all class ones today, that's a little bit questionable, right? There is, you're the one in the pit, you're the one looking at the soil. And then, as Mr. Manspile said, you got a 42-year guy that's been doing soil for the federal government and wrote 8 of the soil books in the state of West Virginia, not Berkeley, but I found that out. So, yeah, Jim, you know the best of anybody. If you know your job and you understand the soils, you're going to go back and at that point in time, at that site, you're going to say whether it meets class 1 or class 2. You're not going to go back and look and see what the soil book looks at. The soil book is a very vague soil that has a large area. Right.
And you're on a specific site, so you got to use your
Right.
common sense.
So, do I think things are going to improve over the time? Yes. I'm kind of surprised that they wouldn't have made that determination on the site today. So,
Well, they're not used to making the determination on this.
I've never had a sanitarian come on my job and tell me whether it met class 1 or class 2.
Absolutely, me too.
Never.
Well, it sounds obvious that they still need training, that they're not confident
yeah.
of what they're looking at. And that should have happened way before they were even out on their own. That should have happened when they were shadowing somebody else and learning to do what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, and so they are looking to go forward naturally with the RFQ. They're looking at, Ms. Poland and I was talking, they're looking at the Elgin pods as being class 1 versus class 2. They're looking on better communication. There's a lot of things that we talked about in the background that seem like the steps are being put in place.
Well,
No disrespect to any sanitarian out there, but
when Keith came on board, I was training, and he was on a lot in Coomstown, and he said, "I think this is a pretty good lot." And I said, "Wait a minute." I said, "You didn't check the entire lot. It's 2 acres or something." And I said, "Let's go over here." And we dropped over the hill, and by God, there was a spring at the bottom of the hill. And I said, "Now, what are you going to do about this?" And he said, "Well, I guess I have to turn it down." I said, "Yes, because there's a spring at the bottom, an active spring." And I said, and he was up on the hill above it. He had never looked at the spring. And, he said, you gotta look at the entire parcel. If it's 50 acres, okay, yeah, but, 2 acre parcel, you gotta walk the entire parcel. You gotta look at everything. And, that was a training thing that I impressed upon him, that this is what you gotta do.
Right.
And a similar case to you.
No, it's exactly the same, and exactly what you just said, and Don made that point, and I made that point to them. He said, you're up here on a convex,
Yeah.
and he goes, he looks at Marty one time, he goes, "Marty, do you think we're gonna pump this water up 100 feet to the top of?"
It's at least 100 feet. It might be 200 feet
Yeah.
on top of a. It's not down the meadow.
Yes, because slope counts,
Right.
vegetation counts.
Right.
Rock counts, and all these things enter into it, not just the soil type of here.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the whole package. That's one thing they're not doing.
Yeah, and that's really all I have. I don't know what they're gonna do, this thing's gotta go on because it can't keep going on. These are 5 class 1s, hands down, no HOAs. There's so much filter material, and they can say what they want, but, last night there's 80 years of experience out there, and we're looking at each other shaking our head, going, really?
I should have been there, but 100.
You've been, that's right, you had 120.
Might have been 200 with you there.
But no, I can only report to you guys because I can't talk to them. They don't know.
All right.
I don't know.
All right.
Okay.
Well, we got it back on the agenda next week to talk about it, so we'll
Okay. Thanks.
have an update. All right. Thank you. All right, that concludes our session of the executive session. We're gonna go into executive session that I know of for real estate matters. Is that
We
it?
actually have litigation, real estate, and personnel, all three to be discussed.
Okay, all right. I need a motion to go into executive session for those three matters.
Yes, I move.
Second.
We are in executive session.
Thank you, Pam.
All right, we're out of executive session. No action will be taken. Mr. Barnhart?
Well, thank you, Mr. President, who came in late, but that's all right. I'll read the recess.
We are recessed.
I gotta go deal with a tire problem.